moment when it's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And speaking of which, we're live already. Hi, I'm Neha.
I'm
I'm from the marketing team at Cocharia. I'm here with Tracy, our lovely coach trainer at Cocharia, and also my lovely coach trainer, along with Smita. I've just recently started my coach training. In case you haven't heard me talk about it constantly already, I just started my coach training with Tracy and Smita. It's awesome. And this Tracy is also my colleague, and she is my friend. And
Yes.
hi, Tracy. It's so good to have you here.
Hi.
It's so good to chat with you. And we're just doing it on air this time.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So happy to
And
have
hello,
you.
everybody.
Hi, everyone. Um, I just want to say hi to you wherever you are, morning, evening, late night. And any time as well. So through space and time, hello. You may not be watching this live. You may be watching this later. And hey, why don't I just throw in like, if you're in a different dimension as well, that's, hi to you as well. Space time dimension. Okay, we have that covered now, covered pretty much everything. um, so wherever you're watching from, you know, we we wanted to check in with you, and we want to check in with each other and with the collective consciousness. We want to check in with humanity as a whole, um, which is why I wanted to cover everyone. Like, how are we doing as a species? We're kind of like there's so much going on, and as Tracy and I started talking just before the live, we were talking about um, how sometimes we just want to be in denial about things, and we don't really want to face what's going on because how much can we take on ultimately, right? Like, we're all going through things. There's only so much you can be concerned about. There's only so much time in the day to do all the things that we can do. So Tracy, you were just telling me how you don't read the news much, or you're not in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah, I have to choose how much I'm going to engage, and most of that is not much at all because
Yeah.
I find it, I haven't learned how to tune my empathy lever sufficiently down. And I just find it to be so overwhelming. And if you think about it, there's so many wonderful things about us being connected globally. Like if we weren't, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation, right? So it's amazing, but we also have to think about, like, I'm learning a lot about trauma these days, and we have to think about what our bodies can take in terms of trauma, and we're being inundated day in, day out. Some people, I have friends that literally have CNN on from the minute like they get home until they go to bed in the background, right? And all we're hearing is bad news, and all we're seeing is tragedy, and all we're actually experiencing is what, like, a lot of people talking about what might happen. And
Hmm.
some of it has happened and some of it hasn't, but there's so much speculation out there about, like, what's next, and like how can we stay present when that's happening? I can't, so that's why I have to weigh it. Like, I don't want to be in denial, but I don't need to know everything about what's happening everywhere because it will crush me. And then I can't help anybody, including myself.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just to even function, right?
Yeah.
It's just to get through the day. Sometimes you need to just focus on the things that you can control, right? Like, you just to take in the things that you can control, do the things you can control, and kind of just let go of the other things.
Yeah.
Can't be on top of everything all the time. But it's hard in when we live also in a society which wants us to be productive in a certain way, and our worth is like measured by how productive we are and how much output we're producing, and how do we go about navigating that? Just asking the easy questions to you today.
Well, Yeah, I mean, that's a question. Wow, that's a curveball because that's a question I ask myself all the time.
Yeah.
I think I need to define what my ability of productivity is. And I think where I sometimes am struggling with that is when I start thinking about what other people expect, and like, of course, we need to know what other people expect, but I
Yeah.
also need to know where I am and what I can do. Um, And so, yeah, there's a level of responsibility. Like, even going back to what we were talking about with the news, like, I know there's a level of responsibility for me to be aware, but I have to choose when and how I'm going to engage to do that. And I have to make sure that I'm in the right headspace. And I feel like that also needs to follow for me in terms of productivity as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's I think that on a normal day that makes sense, and I'm kind of fumbling over my words as I say this because it's like everything is hitting so close to home right now.
Mhm.
I feel really sensitive these days. There's a lot going on. There's a third wave. We've been in isolation. Some of my favorite activities I'm not able to do. The things that would really help me kind of become present and go to the gym, go dancing. Like I can't do all that stuff anymore. And it used to be kind of one of my coping mechanisms. And then I would
Mhm.
see my friends. I would hang out with them. We would have eye contact. We would have laughter together. We would have physical contact as well. There would be hugs. There would be touches on the shoulder, like, hey, how are you doing? And we we're not able to get those things right now that probably are like some of our basic human needs, right? And so I feel like it's not just me, but I feel like a lot of people around me are kind of on edge all the time. And I think that's part of also I why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling on edge these days. And whatever little I can do helps. Like, I made my hair, I put on some earrings, I did a little makeup. I'm like, okay, this is nice. I'm gonna meet Tracy. It's gonna be fun. Um, and it always is when I talk to you. It always helps me, it grounds me, it centers me. There's something so special about this connection, and I
Mhm.
think it's because, like, instantly whenever I've talked to you, I've just felt safe. I felt like I can easily open up, and I think the whole world needs more of that right now. So how can we nurture like a safe space for people around us when we talk to them? Like, you and I have never met in person yet this is how I feel with you. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way. And I've talked to you about how much I really cherish our connection. And, we were talking about it yesterday, and what came up for me as you were asking this now about the safety is I feel like, because I feel safe with you too. And I think that what we both give to each other is that we're both really genuine. And so we talk about that in coaching, right? Like we talk about like how safety is created, and we talk about like client centricity and all of the rest. And I think that can apply to humans. I really do. Like it doesn't just need to be coaching. This is not. Let's not even limit it to humans, beings, right? And when we can actually genuinely be ourselves and really care for the other, then I feel like we're going to create safety. We're going to be able to have that connection because, like, I think what separates us is all these walls that we put up because we're afraid.
Yeah.
And we can't do anything to pull down somebody else's walls, but we can work on bringing our own down. That's always the first step when it comes to, like, if you think about a battle, and it's scary and sad to say a battle, but like that's kind of how we are when we're up against each other, right? Or when we're seeing you and I, us and them. And the first thing that needs to happen for, I'm gonna cry, for like surrender, someone has to raise the white flag, right? Somebody has to lower the walls, and it has to be me. It has to be you. It has to be the person that wants that.
Yeah. But it's so hard,
Mhm.
right? When you do it. Like I was literally an hour ago, I was talking to a friend about this. I was just saying that I've been consciously trying to show up fully in my relationships, to be authentic, and not just show you the parts that I think you're gonna like about me, but like even the stuff that's messy and confused and scared and vulnerable and all these different things, right? Um, and but you definitely make it very easy, I have to say. um, and I think you're right. I think that's what it is about you as well, because you are also vulnerable and you show up authentically. Um, you are honest, even if it may not be fully comfortable for you to be honest. Um, and but it's hard.
Yeah. It's really hard, and you know, the one thing though is that we don't like when I say pulling down the walls, that doesn't mean that we have to like pull out everything behind them
Yeah.
and throw them out on the lawn, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like that comes that has to be earned to some extent, right? But
Right.
like but there's a difference between that and pretending to be something that we're not, or guarding our, I don't know if that's making sense, but like I yeah, I find that I can't be happy if I'm trying to be somebody or trying to portray myself in a way that doesn't feel like I can sleep at night afterwards, like that doesn't feel honest and genuine. And at the times that I do, like, and I'm human, I do, trust me. Like, there's times that I'll notice myself, like, you know, um, people pleasing a little bit or being defensive or those types of things where I realize I'm retreating behind that. Um, I just don't feel as good with me, right? And we need to feel good with ourselves first. Like, I think if anything, like, if there's anything that this pandemic in particular has taught me is that, like, I have to really, like, we've been in a situation, like you said, that we've never been so isolated. And so we have to get good with ourselves. Because if we're not good with ourselves and we're by ourselves, then, like, who do we have?
Well, just as you said that, I immediately I noticed that I'm tense in my body, you
Mm.
know, just talking about this, and just with how cold it is in general and how I've been feeling. I feel tense, I feel tightness, but even just relaxing that already, like it helps so much. And I think even just taking a moment for ourselves and just checking in with ourselves can be so important. But um, I feel like I've been neglecting myself a lot lately. Um, and you're right, that's what makes the isolation hard, you know. So what are some ways in which we neglect ourselves, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah, like I'll share for me, like when I get caught up in something, um, whatever that may be, it could take various roles, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
feeling sick or whether it's being caught up in a work project or I tend to neglect the things that I know are good for me, and it's strange, but like so I may not meditate daily, which is really like something that is and we all have different ways of checking in with ourselves, but that's my way. That's my way of tuning, not tuning everything else out, but like being able to kind of turn inwards and just, yeah, like notice the tension in my body. Notice
Yeah.
if I'm feeling sad or happy or angry. And, and breathing, and then connecting to the rest of the universe, because then I start opening up to like the sounds of the birds, or even in Toronto, like the traffic, like the life around me, and realizing, hey, I'm not alone. Like there's other people out there, and like we're all living human beings that have heartbeats, and so that um but unfortunately, when I start neglecting that and I stop maybe checking in with my own emotions, then I start projecting onto other people, you know? I start projecting my needs onto them and looking for them to satisfy them. And I start projecting my insecurities and then blaming them for them.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Guilty. um. Yeah. Yeah. I think just tying that back in with what we were talking about in terms of uh, filtering ourselves or censoring ourselves with people and trying to people
Mhm.
please a little bit. Um, I think that also comes from the same place of self neglect, where you're kind of abandoning your own needs and your own reality in order to accommodate other people or what you think other people want to see you as, like you're kind of giving them this really nice curated version of yourself. Um, like, hey, look at all this, but this other stuff that you need to know, but I'm not telling you because I think I'm going to run away, It happens, right?
It does, and I'm laughing because it's like that's what I do, and I have to remind myself all the time, like, I'm never going to know what other people want. None of us are ever going to know what other
Yeah.
people want. Like, we don't even know what we ourselves want, right? And then even if we have a sense of it, like, we can't put it into language in a way to express it properly. Like, have you ever tried telling somebody what you really want? And it's like,
Oh my
it's really
gosh.
hard, right?
Yeah.
And yet we're guessing what we think another person wants or what they expect. And then we're working to either give it to them or we're resenting them. I've done the other end where I'm like, well, how dare they expect me to do this? It's like, how do you know what they expect? So, and it's so funny. I posted something on my Instagram. I'm reading um Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. Like my daughter had it.
Nice.
Uh
Okay.
and he had this little quote on there about like somebody said, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "I don't know if I'm serious." He's like, I'll let you know once I know whether life is serious. I know it's painful. I know you die, but I don't know if it's serious or not, right?" And it just tied something into me as well about something that I read in the Art of Possibilities, which is an amazing book, by the way. And it was, don't take yourself so seriously. And I think like we forget that, like, we think everything is so important and everything is so serious. And listen, it is sometimes, it is, right? But not everything is. uh,
I'm going to tell you something that I told my friend yesterday, that I told another friend later because I was able to say it once, I was able to say it twice, and now I can say it on the internet and to
yeah.
you. Um, that I was just telling her, I don't wanna like do anything. I wanna be like, I want someone to just like take care of me and to like, hold me like a little baby. Like I really want that. And I felt so vulnerable sharing that with her. I was like, I know I'm supposed to be this like really put together woman who doesn't need anybody and like you know what I mean. I think there are all these pressures that we have to be a certain way and to come across a certain way and to have the certain
Right.
image of ourselves, but there can be other sides to us. But I think it's you're probably like, yeah, of course there can be, but to me it's new to be able to embrace that. And I don't think that's about anybody else, it's about me embracing those sides of myself. um which is the stuff that I'm hiding from you because I myself haven't accepted it. Right?
Yeah. It's hard to, like, you know, I think so many of us have had to learn to not be vulnerable because we've been mocked for it at various times in our lives, right? Like in the school, at school, or by partners or by parents or whoever,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like even people that are genuinely caring for us and want us to be able to like get through life and not cry every 5 minutes. So but we can be resilient and yet still be vulnerable. That's something that I'm working on, right? Like it's a possibility.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah.
That's the dream, to be resilient and vulnerable. Like that's why I was saying that it feels so hard because something I'm trying to practice as well. I think coach training is breaking me open. It's making me drop my armor, and a lot of other things in general. I suppose just how things are going with the pandemic and with life changes and all these different things that happen to a person. Um, so but there are always these moments like just now where I remember what it's like that we can, that I'm not alone, that we're all in this kind of together. And I feel like we just need to be there for each other. I feel like we need to reach out more to people and just be a little, just go that little extra mile and check in and have a
Mm.
laugh together, and also and just say, yeah, it's hey, same here, you're not alone. It makes such a difference. It makes such a big difference. I think this made my day, having that laugh with you 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
um
And
Please.
no, and what you just said there is so important, like that we're not alone. Like even when we're alone, we're not alone. You know what I mean? Like we're like does I don't know if that makes sense, but like I don't know. I was meditating this morning and I was thinking about all the people that lived before me that contributed to who I am. You know what I mean? And all the people that are going to live ahead of me and all the people in my life that have made me who I am. And so like even if I was completely alone in the world, I wouldn't be alone because every like I don't am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. These were things that were
Yeah.
coming up in my head.
Mm.
Because we do have thoughts while we meditate. um, but yeah, it's just yeah, but letting the people around us know that we care, um, and that we're there. I think at this point in time is one of the most giving things that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those have been the highlights of my days lately, just friends checking in on me checking in on friends, just honestly telling each other that we're miserable if we
Hmm.
are, um, being able to see the lightness of it all as well, like being able to see it as something kind of funny or ironic, just having a bit of a
Yeah,
sense of humor about things, feels like the need of the hour, you know.
yeah,
Um, hmm. It's just that there are so many uncertainties right now, right? Like what's gonna happen, and you know how what this all means. I think a lot of people are going through transitions in their lives as well. Like they're moving, or they've stopped going to commuting to work, and so the physical space is different. Um, what are some things we can do to kind of anchor ourselves and ground ourselves? Um,
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked me that because I was thinking about it yesterday, and like even though I know, I understand, like theoretically and logically, and like the wisdom of the fact that like we're always in uncertain times. Like now isn't any more uncertain. It's just more obvious, and we're more collectively going through uncertainty. But we've always been going through uncertainty, right? But it doesn't mean that we've survived this long because we plan, we worry, but it's also killing us, right? Like it's helped us survive, but it's not helping us evolve. I think that's what I try to
Hmm.
remember.
Hmm.
And so what I was reflecting on myself yesterday about this is that I really need on working on establishing trust with myself, because I'm never going to know what's going to happen next. But as long as I trust myself, and then I'll know that whatever happens next, I've got it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and that's another challenge, right? That kind of self belief.
Yeah.
Because again, there might have been times in the past where things didn't work out the way we wanted, and maybe we build up certain coping mechanisms. Let's not
Mhm.
hope too much. Like one of the things that I noticed about myself that I had mentioned in the New Year's resolution webinar was that I'm this person who tends to always think about the worst case scenario. Like I'm always planning, but I'm planning for the worst case scenario. Like I um, that's kind of a default thing which has come into my awareness only recently over the past few months. And so my New Year's resolution, or one of them at least, was to be open to all possibilities and potential. I think I shared that with you previously as well.
Mhm.
Um, but it's it takes so much effort to rewire yourself, right? To start thinking in a totally different way when you have a kind of default way of operating for the last however many decades, and yeah, so that feels like a challenge right now. um, how do we practice, and how do we maybe, like, one of the great things I found about sharing it as well, uh, sharing it to, our entire audience, sharing it to Cindy and Prakash and Smita, and with you and with other people, um, it kind of holds me accountable, right? With the people, at least the people who are listening, they're gonna check in with me and say, "Hey, Neha, you know what? I noticed you're doing this thing right now, where you're thinking of the worst case scenario, and
Yeah.
you can just be open to all possibilities and potential." I think it's so important to have those like accountability partners, or just like people you're checking in with about certain things that you want to do and that they want to do. Do you have like a framework for that? How can we do that? Maybe we need to have like a way to do that within Kocharya as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like you and I both talk about the fact that we set intentions, like we do something around the new moon and we set intentions
Yeah.
once a month. So, and you've done that. You've set an intention. Like setting an intention is the first step, and then paying attention to that attention is necessary, because otherwise it's just something that's floated out there, and then the next month you're like, what was my intention again? Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I've been setting a new one. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that you said accountability partners. Of course, that's what a lot of coaching is about.
Hmm.
And also, like, I think visualization is what's coming to me, because we've talked about this before, but like, if you're doing something that requires, let's say, balance, right? And all you think is, I'm going to fall, what happens?
You're gonna fall.
Yeah. Like I've done that. I've been in yoga, like I've been doing a challenging pose, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm doing this pose. Oh my God. I hope I don't fall." Boom. Right? Like so
Yeah.
but And everyone that does sports and anyone that does visualization and has been able to manifest things that way. And listen, when I'm talking manifestation, I'm not talking magic or anything like that. I'm talking that, like, you said it, in being able to see potentialities, right? Like, until you visualize what you want, you're not going to be able to see. You do this in coaching too. You're not going to be able to see the possible ways to get there. You're not going to see the opportunities as they come up. But when you are constantly, which we, many of us, I do this, this is my default, visualizing what I don't want, thinking, worrying
Yeah.
about what I don't want, ruminating over what could happen, then what
Mhm.
are we missing? And also, what are we putting all our energy into? And what are we almost making happen? You know?
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to just maybe rewind a little bit is when you were talking about, this is something I'm working on myself. All of this is stuff I'm working on myself. But when you were talking about, like, knowing that things didn't work out the way that you did, do we stop and think about all the times things did work out how we wanted them to? Or do we just hold on?
Yeah, I survived. I'm alive right now, so that's
Yes.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had that. I had, so, I mean, I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but I've had a lot of regrets. I had a lot of regrets about the way I was as a parent and the decisions that I made in my life, and really hard ones that I still work through. And I remember walking up one day, I was walking my dog down near the ocean and walking up the hill, and something just came to me, and I was like, to regret my past is to deny who I am right now.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
have to remember that whenever I get caught up in that, because it's like, how can I love myself if I'm full of blame and regret for the decisions that I've made? Because they've already happened. I can't change them. And they made me who I am, you know? And they made my children who they are. So, like, in a sense, if I'm blaming myself for all the mistakes I've made, then I'm almost saying, oh, you're not the way I wanted. And I wouldn't change anything about them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What about yourself?
No.
Hmm.
I want to continue to, um, and so this is the mind jumble. It doesn't mean that there isn't ways that I want to evolve and grow. I do,
Hmm.
but I can't do that if I don't fully love myself right now. Yeah.
That's such a healthier place from which to approach your own evolution and growth. To not do it out of like I don't like who I am right now, so I'm gonna change it. It's like I accept and I love myself right now, and I can do even better, and I can continue to grow and learn and put my energy into specific things that'll help me, get to where I want and be of service to others and have fun.
Yeah. Have fun. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times have we looked back? Have you looked back, or I know I have, like, and thought, like, oh, I wish I knew then what I do now, you know?
Mm.
And, but like, we, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, we can't, how are we ever going to, we can't wait to enjoy life until we're perfect or until we are the version of ourselves that we think we want to be. We can't wait to love ourselves until that happens either, you know?
Mm. I think I'm remembering a quote that I read on Instagram today because you know because that's what you do. Um, uh, it was it was just this. It said that the word ecstasy, it comes from Greek for like without the ego, essentially. Like
Mm.
ecstasy, like you feel joy and you feel ecstasy when you're not caught up in your own story. That's what I gleaned from it, at least. You're not so caught up in like, who am I? Where am I going? Who do I want to be? And all these different things. And there's that kind of ego dissolution that takes place. and you're just caught up in whatever it is you're engaged in, right? You're caught up in your yoga, or you're caught up in meditation, or in even in the work that you're doing, or a conversation that you're having. And that yoga example really hit home for me because I play piano, and one of the things that happens is I've been recording a short video every weekend, and I put it on my stories because, and I'm not on camera. It's like it's awful. The sound quality is bad, but I just promised myself, like, I'm gonna do this every weekend, and I'm not gonna worry about uh, what I'm gonna put in there, how good it's gonna be, how well I'm gonna do it, how many, like, because the minute the camera is on, I start performing, and I'm no longer there. I'm not feeling the music, I'm not enjoying the music, I'm not there, and I'm not present with it. So what I really really want to practice is being present and actually feeling it, even while the camera is on. So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm uploading videos every weekend. I'm like, I just have to do it once a week. I have to practice that presence, practice the feeling and not the performing. um, but it's again, it's a challenge, right? Because it feels vulnerable. It feels like, oh my god, the way I sing in my head is so much better than you know what's coming up in the camera. So I'm like, all right, that's okay. I think the thing that I want to try and remember for myself is that there is always room to improve as long as I keep showing up. I am who I am right now. I can accept that. And I have to just keep working at it. I have to actually show up if I want to improve and I want to get better. And I will get there someday. I have to at
Yeah.
least try.
And I love, 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 love what you said about ecstasy being the absence of ego. I didn't know that. So, first of all, I want to follow you on Instagram now. But secondly, I want to just ask you, like, when like, how is it feeling for you in the moment when you're doing this?
When I'm recording myself,
Yeah, when you're playing,
when I'm playing
while
by
you're,
myself, or when I'm recording, because they're two
while
very
you're,
different experiences.
so, okay, yeah. So when you're playing by yourself, you're having the ecstasy, but in the recording, that's the part that you're working on to have it feel,
Yeah, to feel
yeah,
more like ecstasy, to drop the ego. Yeah.
yeah. Are you finding enjoyment in it?
In the process, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
beautiful.
definitely. And I think it's because it is forcing me to also just be consistent at the showing up of it. It's
Yeah,
forcing me to just be like, every weekend you're going to sit down, you're going to take an hour, and you're going to just leave the camera running, and you're going to play, and you're going to try and even forget that there's a camera there. you know and but the ego does come back, because ultimately I'm gonna post it on Instagram, right? So the ego does come back and say, oh my god, I made a mistake on this part, and this part sucks, and this is not good enough, and all that comes up, and I'm like, okay, but this is the best one, so I'm gonna post this. Like, I just force myself to post it.
yeah,
And then I'm like, okay, next week will be better. And it has been, I think. And I don't think it should matter what anyone else thinks. And I think all that should matter is that I'm enjoying the process, like you
yeah.
asked.
Yay, that's amazing. I think I've shared this before you, but I love karaoke and I am not good at it. I sent Magda a video and she's like, I thought you said you were good at karaoke. I'm like, no, I never said that. I said I love it. I think she thought I was like three sheets to the wind, and the funny thing is I wasn't. I was just like having a good time, yelling, yelling. That's the way I sing. But like, yeah, there's something really liberating about that. It's Yeah, and that's good. Like, you know, we've talked about um, all of these things kind of lead to, like, we have to learn to create new habits, you know. And so even just like the evolution of me being on these types of like live sessions and webinars and everything else,
Yeah.
like I used to be so much more. First of all, I'm probably never going to go back and watch this because I can't, like, I've stopped doing that. um, but
Mm.
but I used to be so caught up in the fact that like people are watching, and like now all of a sudden I'm aware of it again.
Yeah.
But I've started being able to finally get into the flow of it, like,
Mm.
and enjoying the process. And I never did enjoy the process before. I have to tell you, the voices in my head were screaming at me the whole time, being like, "What are you going to say next? You're not being present. You have to listen to the person." And then if it wasn't that, it was like, "What did you just say?" Yeah. So it's the more we do these things, right? Like the more comfortable we will, or not even comfortable, because maybe comfortable isn't the goal, but the more in the flow, the more in ecstasy we'll be.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, more moments of ecstasy. I think what I'm going to take away from this is to just create more moments of ecstasy, to be in that state of ego dissolution. And I'm also just, it's dawning on me that although things have been hard, and I was talking at the beginning of this session that I feel very sensitive, and I feel things are, it's a difficult time. I have had moments of ecstasy. We all have moments. We may not feel ecstatic all the time, but we've had moments of just joy or laughter or, you know, letting go and
Yeah.
release. And I think it's important to hold on to them, to um, feel good about them, to be present for them, to take them in fully. And yeah, on that note, I do want to say I'm really grateful for our friendship, Tracy, for the way that we can have conversations. I feel like I can be myself with you. I feel like I can, uh, you know, just feeling that support from you, it means so much to me. It means the world to me.
Aw, I'm I'm so grateful as well. I know that we've talked about this before, and yeah, having these type of conversations energize and fuel me. Um, yeah, they're my moments.
Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? I think we can wrap up the session. It's 42 minutes in.
Yeah, I guess like um I think there's nothing else that I really have to say, but yeah, just inviting the community that like if you have ways of needing someone to be there for you or being there for others, if you have those moments of those glimpses of ecstasy that come in these difficult times, please share them because it's going to really help all of us as a community. And if you have resources that you've used, let us know. I don't know how they do that. How do they do that on the post?
Yeah, I think, or on the comments. On the
Okay,
comments.
perfect. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Tracy, for being here, for agreeing to do this with me. I think I needed it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.